Hello guys, welcome to Bears Boldy Go.
Lost Bears.
Lost Bears, yes.
Yeah, season 1, part 2.
Aye, episodes 6 and 7.
Yeah, so we're back from the Christmas break.
Aye,
And
Disco is
the
on break
Discovery
now.
break. Yeah. Um,
Because we can't burden the world with too much Star Trek.
is there such a thing as too much Star
One
Trek?
Star Trek at a time, Matt. One Star Trek at a time.
Exactly.
Every
So
day
we're
of the
gonna,
year, but one at a time.
yeah. So we're going to have episode 6 and 7 together. Is it 10 episodes for the whole season? I think it
Yes,
is,
I
isn't
want
it?
to say so.
Yeah.
But that
So we're
will
going to do 6
mean
and 7 together.
episode 10 is sitting on its own.
Yeah, no, which is fine. 8 and 9 together, and then episode 10 we'll do a full series roundup
Yes.
and a bit of speculation as what to come.
I should probably have got the names of the episodes ready, so if you want to chat while I find them.
Well, episode 6, James, is called Kobayashi.
Yes, it is.
Not
Two.
the full title.
But yeah, we had a Kobayashi Maru and Disco and
We did, yeah.
but yes, and the episode 8 is 6, 7, episode 7 is
I can't remember the name of episode 7. I thought you were looking them up. Sorry, everyone.
I thought you hadn't read him, that's why you pulled Kobayashi off the top of your head.
No. I just remembered it because it's a memorable title, James. And the whole of the internet was talking about it. My Twitter now, because we do so much Star Trek, is because of this new thing with Twitter where they're just promoting other people's tweets without you even looking for the hashtags. My Twitter is pretty much Star Trek now.
So episode 8 is first contact.
Yep.
With a hyphen between con and tact.
Episode 7, you mean? We
yes, episode 7. There is no such thing as the number 7.
There's no such thing as a number 7.
No.
There we go.
I do not subscribe to Big Number and their insistence that 7 exists.
Yeah, fair enough. I think there we go. We've got some of the conspiracy theory viewers now. That'll bring YouTube will send this to the correct algorithms. Hashtag Flat Earth. We'll get that. Get
so yes, we start with the Prodigy having launched them like a far way away. That engine has just zapped them across the.
It's the Protostar. The name of the show's Prodigy.
Yes, the Protostar. Yeah. Really, I don't know if we're playing that. Star Trek shows are named after the ship.
I mean, only 2 of them are. 3 Deep Space. Oh yeah, 4. Yeah, TNG and original series aren't. They're the outliers.
The full name of that ship was the Star Trek Enterprise D, the Next Generation.
Oh, that's in the small print underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah. And underneath it says "Make it so."
Yeah. Oh, imagine if Starfleet captains did like paint their catchphrases onto their ships.
Yeah, like in their handwriting.
Yeah.
like a little scribe, like a signature. I could see Picard doing that.
So the main plot here is I've forgotten all the character names in the time between.
I'm still learning it.
Yeah.
They're which isn't a diss on the show. It's just it's new. And to be honest, I'm terrible with names.
Yeah,
it took me 6 months to learn James's. I mean, I learned his name. I just didn't know whether it was his. So there was James and Ryan, who's appeared on 1 or 2 of our shows, the tabletop-y shows that we did. I didn't know which was James and which was Ryan for about 6 months. So
Dal. So yeah, the main plot line
both.
is Dal having to discover the holodeck. That the ship has a holodeck, and then Dal finds the Kobayashi Maru program and carries on playing it until
attempts to complete it. Yes. And eventually becomes agonizingly close, and then
and you get Spock, you get all these characters from Star Trek's past as holograms. Was Spock completely comprised of Leonard McCoy lines.
All of them were comprised of their own, except for Gates McFadden, who recorded the fresh dialogue.
Yeah, so it was all lines
it was all
from
taken from the various TV shows and stuff like that. I like the fact that they didn't try and hide it with the audio as well.
Yeah,
like there's some stuff from the original series for Uhura and
I wonder if
Spock in particular.
I think
where
it stood
they
out with
very
Spock
deliberately...
for most.
Mm.
Like, it was very smooth with the others. I don't think it was as... And whether it was deliberate or not, I'm not sure.
Well, I think it was deliberate. I think it was, like, obviously for fans, it was almost a case of, like, you are going to know that these are just taken, so let's not try and trick you. Let's not try and hide it.
Yeah.
We're going to... And the thing is, like, it will create emotions for you. And then in theory, for the simulation itself, potentially they have actually come from actual ship's logs and ship's records and stuff like that.
True.
But, like, because in theory, like, everything potentially would be recorded anyway. So these are real recordings that have been pieced together to make what have you. So yeah, so we get to see various incarnations of the Kobayashi Maru. Obviously, it's an updated Kobayashi Maru as well, because it's one using the bridge of the Enterprise D. They've got access to transporters so that they can go to a different ship as well.
Still weirdly using Klingons. And not, like, updated to Romulans or something like that.
Well, that's the thing, because it seems to be the original Kobayashi Maru, which obviously would be Klingons, but with at the time of this happening, current technology, because obviously when we see people attempt it in the which Star Trek film is it? It's one of the Kirk films. When we see them,
Wrath of Khan.
Is it Wrath of Khan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also see it in
Undiscovered Country?
No, we see it in 09.
Yeah. But obviously in Wrath of Khan, because in that era, they don't have full proper holodecks. They have a version of the holodeck, but they don't have the physical touchy boy that they have in TOS era onwards. In TNG onwards. The Kobayashi Maru is self-contained within an actual replica set of a starship bridge. Whereas obviously it's in, like, one of the things I found interesting was because it's now done in a holodeck, you have more options, which means that the game has grown. But at the same time, that means that the game has now had to learn the fact that you can essentially beam to the Klingon ship and take over the Klingon ship. You could, in theory, go to the Kobayashi Maru, and try and help the Kobayashi Maru out. Like, all of these things that couldn't have happened when Kirk fiddled the test, but could happen later on. So that was quite fun. It was a nice new interpretation of the thing. It also mirrored the Boimler story in season 2 of
the
Lower
one
Deck,
where he's just playing through the Borg simulation over and over. I quite liked the B plot here as well, of Murph swallowing some grenades.
And then realising that, like, he's indestructible.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't wait to find out what he is. Like, he's like...
Was this the one where they were playing with the transporters as well?
They were...
Or was that the next episode?
That was the next episode. That was episode 7.
Yeah, because that's
that was
a key...
plot device for episode 7. Right? So yeah, the Anamorphous blob decides to eat some proton grenades, and they explode.
The episode ends with Gwyn decoding some logs on the ship, and we discover that Chakotay was the captain of the ship.
He was, yes. and that it was stolen with him and holographic Janeway on board. So where is Chakotay?
Aye,
That's the question.
indeed.
I thought this was a great first episode to come back from
Yeah,
the
it was.
mid-season break. It felt like, because now they're all beginning to be a unit as well.
Yeah.
It finally felt coherent.
Over
in a way
2 episodes, there's some nice moments for Dal and Gwyn.
Like the first 5 episodes did what it needed to do, but I think because it was still in that like let's bring the team together phase, like it felt a little ploddy for me. But then again, this is written for kids, so I suppose like this isn't for me. So as much as I am enjoying it, don't get me wrong. So I think that like this was a great first episode to come back from. And I think the fact that we're saying that after a really good first half of the season for Disco as well, because let's face it, like this has been sandwiched with some Disco between it. The fact that this still feels strong after Disco, like well played.
I think our next episode's even better though.
I'd agree. Yeah.
First Contact. So opens up with us effectively they're playing with the transporters,
which is weird because like I took it for granted that they'd used them, and then I quickly kind of scanned my memories and like they haven't used the transporters yet.
No, and they're all coming from a place where they don't necessarily have them, so it is.
Or they certainly don't use them.
Yeah, so it's like, crazy technology to them. Like they're unsure whether it's safe for them to go through it.
Yeah.
I mean, you think their holographic Captain Janeway would just be like, yeah, it's perfectly safe, it's fine.
Yeah, but then they can still turn her on and off.
Yeah, true.
Like, and she quite obviously is trying to allow them to grow organically. So even if she's maybe running in the background observing them, as long as they're not causing any damage, like it's children at play essentially, isn't it? Like, this like is an episode
seeing
that
if it
says
cooks a pie.
Yeah,
the fact that it was the pie already hot, and they were seeing
the pie was already hot. Yeah, so they wanted to see
it didn't cook for pie because that opens a whole world of like, wait, this cooks things.
So, but yeah, it was again, it's Star Trek being Star Trek and teaching you things without realizing it's teaching you things. But essentially, it's emphasizing the importance of play, saying that go on, play with things, experiment, have a look at stuff, and to a greater extent, for kids that are a little bit older, science is good. Go and have some fun with science. Like it's so there's that.
In this episode, we meet the woman who raised Dal.
Who happens to be a Ferengi. Now at this point, because at the beginning of episode 6, because of the dramatic getaway from
where are they?
I think they're in the Gamma Quadrant. I think they've actually leapt into the Gamma Quadrant.
And which one's the Gamma Quadrant?
The one with the Dominion.
Is it liable that there'd be Ferengi hanging around the Gamma Quadrant in a pretty normal ship?
Yes, because there's there was a deal with between the Ferengis and members of the Gamma Quadrant, including the Dominion.
Yeah, but then this Ferengi's also got the capability to get to the. Yeah,
I mean that's they've travelled 4,000 light years, which is quite a distance. So I don't know how far in the future this is. That's the only thing that's brought up that's made me wonder with these 2 episodes. With the first half of the series, it felt very much like this was not in the too distant future from Janeway getting back. Like, so maybe 10 years after Janeway getting back.
Yeah.
However, this now feels like it might be significantly further down the line, because obviously we had a 17-year flashback in one of the episodes where the villains were already looking for the protostar, which means that they were aware of the protostar and it had been lost already at this point, which means that we're probably at least 30 years away from Janeway returning to the Alpha Quadrant.
And
so technology could have moved a bit further on.
So,
remember, obviously, Janeway did bring transwarp drive and stuff back with her from the Delta Quadrant.
So as this episode works on, we discover that Seth Ferengi is also who sold Dal to our villains.
Yes.
So had the ability to get to the Delta Quadrant.
I mean, it did seem to be that they were on the border. Like, so that it was on the border of the Gamma and Delta Quadrant. So, so they still travelled quite a distance. And obviously, in that period of time, in theory, through slower space travel, yes, that Ferengi could have gone wherever they felt like it.
But yeah, we get first contact, don't we?
We do get a first contact.
Janeway tries to instill the rules around first contact and how the Federation thinks it should be. Oh, and a previous episode part of the plot line was how much the rest of the crew want to get to the Federation. But Dal is very resistant to the thought.
Yes.
Mainly because he just doesn't trust anyone.
Which is fair enough.
Yeah. And this episode, they've got a cloaking device.
The Ferengi has a cloaking device.
Yeah.
Which they find in the engine room, stroke bedroom, Dal's bedroom on the Ferengi ship.
Yes.
And they happen to have the fuel for a cloaking device. So the Ferengi says that she will trade the cloaking device for some of the fuel if they help her get a crystal from this mysterious planet and mysterious species. A very, very, very technologically advanced species, but one that keeps to itself. Which, of course, would be...
operates on sound waves and things like that.
But obviously the fact that it keeps to itself possibly doesn't have space travel, certainly not warp travel, or if they do, they don't use it.
Yeah.
Would be against the Prime Directive. So obviously holographic Janeway tries to put them off from going there and speaking to them. But because they're a bunch of ragtag kids who are still learning.
And Dal trusts
a Ferengi.
Nandi, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah. Interesting as well, female Ferengi.
Yes.
Which obviously is after the end of Deep Space Nine, where Rom becomes the Grand Nagus, after the influence of his mother on the previous Grand Nagus, and Rom starts to allow women to wear clothes in public and to have business, to own things. How dare he?
So
this is
moved on far enough again that society has shifted.
This is well, I mean, the thing was, towards the end of Deep Space Nine, there'd already been quite big changes anyway, because the outgoing Grand Nagus had actually brought these rules into pass in the final season of Deep Space Nine. But this just goes to show that Rom was successful in keeping them going. Which is nice, because obviously we've heard very little about the Ferengis other than in Lower Decks.
I mean, we know Nog. We also know that Nog becomes a revered enough Starfleet captain to have a ship named after him.
Do we?
Yeah, there's a USS Nog in Discovery.
Oh yeah, it's I think as much as that as anything is because the actor's dead now.
Well, yes, but
so,
I mean,
like...
out of world, yes, I mean, that is the reason. But in universe, there still has he still must have the character must have become a revered enough captain to.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, yes, we know the real world reason for that, but
no, I mean either way, it's a lovely touch.
Yeah.
It is it's a fantastic touch. Because he was a.
And we know they joined the Federation at some point.
They do, yeah, definitely. But yeah, it's like it's a really quite a nice balanced character actually, because you get the sort of typical Ferengi villainous, but because she is a woman, it's also showing that the Ferengi people as a whole, are still growing.
And again, she's a villain because she's a villain, not necessarily because she's a Ferengi.
Exactly, yeah. Which is a very nicely done little bit of character work there.
And obviously, Dal trusts her, or at least wants to. I think he knows deep down he can't.
Well, no, because you shouldn't. Because he knows all the Ferengi rules of acquisition.
Yeah,
and therefore you shouldn't trust anyone. But that's pretty much in fact, many of the rules of acquisition. Don't trust anyone.
She betrays him and tries to steal these crystals. And I like that they instantly have a sense, even Dal, no, this is wrong. We need to put them back.
Yes.
And yeah, this is where he uses the transporter. Like he goes to confront her. And he palms his transporter badge onto the crystal. Turns out that she's already stolen the fuel from the
protostar.
Yeah, for the cloaking device.
Because they didn't have their shields up.
And it ends with them getting admonished by Janeway.
Yep. Now there's a nice little bit where it transports back into position on the alien planet.
Yeah.
Where it acknowledges that the aliens see the Starfleet communications badge, which could go one of either two ways, because it could be that they suddenly think, right, we hate the Federation because they're going to associate this shape.
I think the idea is that they see it return with that.
Yeah, I hope.
I'm pretty sure that's what they were going for.
I hope it's that. Like, I mean, the thing is that, like, obviously. It's nicely left dangling that the writers can send it in either direction. We can have another episode later on.
Yeah, I think that's what they were going for. Yeah. But we also have a nice moment between Gwyn and Dal at the end where they bond over disappointing parental figures, effectively.
Yeah. In both of these episodes, we get a little bit more backstory to do with the big bad.
Yes, and we see it's this episode where we actually see the robot peering through the door on the protostar as it's being attacked or boarded.
Is he a robot or is he a cyborg? Is he? Because I get the feeling. I mean, obviously
he's
looks
an
like
intelligent life form.
Like, I wondered whether he was partially bio, like Grievous.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, isn't it? That, like, you know, with the 17-year time, time jump and stuff like that, and the fact that it does look like it was the not General Grievous that stole the protostar in the first place.
Yes.
And then lost it. Like, how far in the future is this now? Like, I think it has to be.
I wonder, you know, that 17-year flashback looking for the protostar.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's where the hologram is stemming from. They were looking for the protostar in space, not on the mining planet.
Could be.
So,
but then
Chakotay in command of the... That would make Chakotay in command of the protostar only 17 years ago.
But that would... I still think that's probably at least 5 or 10 years after Voyager, gets back to the Alpha Quadrant. So,
well, yeah, they've got to build the protostar. That building starships takes time.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, even if it was being built while they were away, like, Chakotay was still, like, I think they pardoned him, but he still would have had to go through quite a lot of rigorous checks before they allowed him to have an official captain's rank in Starfleet.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, he could have been given that that captaincy though could have been like, hey, we want to send this ship on a mission to the Delta Quadrant. Janeway's an admiral now. Who better to captain this ship?
Oh yeah, yeah. But I think this, I think we're still looking probably 25 years after the end of Voyager.
Yeah, which puts us firmly. What uniform was he in though?
It was a different uniform because it was different. Like he was a captain, but he wasn't wearing a red uniform. He wasn't wearing the same color as the Janeway hologram.
Was he not?
No.
One sec.
I mean, obviously, it's all in this weird blue thing, but, like memory bank, like hologram thing. But like, it obviously wasn't the same uniform as Janeway. But then, as Star Trek has established, different ships and different classes of ship do have different.
It's a black top, so the bottom could in theory be red. But it's a black top with a weird V.
And of course, because this is a prototype ship, a secret ship.
Yeah.
It could very well be that it's a different branch of Starfleet, and therefore it's a different uniform.
But yeah, I think on that note, we should join you for the next 2 episodes in 2 weeks' time.
Yes, we will. In the meantime, we will do our best to get some other content up.
Yes.
COVID permitting, because unfortunately I've had the dreaded Rona over the last week.
Here's this video screwed for the algorithm now.
Yeah, well, I mean, but we've mentioned flat Earth, so it might cancel each other out. James is coming up to the northeast this week, this weekend, which, dangerous viruses permitting, we'll be hanging out together and recording a few extra little bits and bobs.
Yes.
Otherwise, we've got a couple of things in the can so that we can fill in the gap next week as well. But yeah, live long and prosper, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy Prodigy. It's back. It's wonderful. And
have fun.
Yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.